Hey folks, and here I am at Gear Street, Le Deux, with quite the most incredible guy. I've been chilling out and he's been making me laugh almost as much as Steve from Boston made me laugh at TGU and GitCon and the Gear Street Le Urn. And this is the lovely Jamie Humphries. Jamie, let's have a virtual shake through this shield because obviously with the current situation we're having to social distance and we've got this plastic shield between us so that we can be a little bit closer than we would normally for general video work and just to make sure that we are doing all the right things. And Henning has been really on it like a carbonate with those things, hasn't he? He's been so good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So really what I wanted to do is just have a little chat and let my subscribers and my friends out there in YouTube land know a little bit about you, because I mean some of the things you've done and the places you've played, and particularly, as it probably says in the title, something about Brian May.
Yes.
Because you were on We Will Rock You, and I saw you because I'm a big theatre fan, so I've seen you play We Will Rock You in London at least 10 times, maybe more than that, and it'd just be great to let our guys and our friends out there know all the things you've been doing.
Yeah, I was kind of lucky. We Will Rock You came about from... I just got an email out of the blue for any of your followers that may have seen me on any of the dusty corners of the internet. I've been doing a lot of guitar magazines since 95 and the sort of Total Guitars and Guitar Techniques and stuff, but I've done many DVDs, hundreds of DVDs in fact, for a company called Lick Library. So I kind of had a little bit of a name for being the guy that could work stuff out and played classic rock and modern rock, but obviously with a slightly schooled approach, so I understood how to read score and do the things that you're expected. It was, I think the thing that they struggled with at We Will Rock You was finding guys that were disciplined enough to be able to understand a conductor or understand a score, but could play rock authentically. It's an unusual show. So I one morning got an email from this gentleman and he said, "Hi, my name's Neil Murray, bassist for Whitesnake."
Well, there was Whitesnake, yeah, absolutely.
Black Sabbath.
Gee.
You know, and I'm like, that's Neil Murray.
Yeah.
Holy crap. You know, it was like, wow. So, I answered the email. He said that we're looking for guitarists, sub-guitarists to come in and work on the show. So I went in and literally my audition was playing the show live. You don't get a rehearsal. So,
no way.
No, honestly. So you get the score, you go and sit in once, you take it home, you practice, then you come in, you watch it again, and then they say, right, you're on. So they normally do a Saturday matinee. I guess they if you mess it up, and they've like the shepherd's crook to pull you off, and the other guy jumps in. So that's your audition. But not only are you dealing with, the nerves of playing a big theatre show, but you've also got this really wacky guitar, the Brian May guitar with all the switching on it, and also you've just got an amp and a treble booster. So if you want to be clean, it's that kind of thing. It's all on the volume, and the volume controls here.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different factors that make it a very difficult gig. But apparently, to now, people who are really, really close friends of mine, at the end of it, some of the actors and singers were like, "He's a stayer." So I did okay, but.
You did okay. That's an understatement, isn't it?
But I ended up doing part of the We Will Rock You tour. I can't remember what year that was. I've done so many of them, and then it was We Will Rock You Germany, We Will Rock You Switzerland, We Will Rock You Austria, We Will Rock You Denmark. I went to Sweden to do a show called Champions of Rock, which
never came back.
Never came back. Yeah, I ended up moving there eventually, but. I ended up playing on a show with a singer from London, Peter Johansson, who was Galileo.
He was, and I met him in the Dominion Theatre. He gave us a backstage tour.
Oh, nice.
Because we were doing a production of it with a company that I work with, and we took the whole cast up to see the show.
Yeah.
And he gave us a backstage tour.
Yeah, well,
which was lovely.
Pete's one of my dear friends, and he got me involved through my guitar teacher, Phil Hilborn, who was also on We Will Rock You.
Man.
So Phil, I got on well with Pete, and I ended up going out to Sweden to play on Pete's concert show called Champions of Rock, which was a relatively small affair. It was just, it was theatres, and eventually he signed it to Live Nation, and we did a tour in 2015, which was Live Nation Sweden's biggest tour. We sold over 80,000 tickets. We were playing all the big arenas in Scandinavia. But on one of these tours, I met a singer called Kerry Ellis, who I didn't really know Kerry because she wasn't.
She was me, of course.
But
we did a workshop with Hannah Jane Fox,
right?
Who was
Yes.
Scaramouche. Yes, she's hilarious.
Yes,
and I saw her on an advert on TV recently.
Yeah, she does a lot of stuff. A little unknown fact: I'm the only guitar player who have played on We Will Rock You 2.
We Will Rock You 2.
Mm-hmm. There is a We Will Rock You 2. I'll come to that in a minute.
Okay, yeah.
So I did this Champions of Rock thing with Kerry, and we got on very well. And she said, "You really do the Brian May thing well. You really sound like him." I was like, "Well, I don't know about that, but thank you." So then I was driving home one day from teaching at the ACM. I got a text message, sitting in the M25, not moving, and I got a text message from Kerry saying, "Are you up for doing a gig?" And I said, yeah, what is it? I thought, oh, that's nice. Kerry wants me to do, it might be some West End thing or something. And she said, oh, it's with Brian May at Hyde Park with the London Symphony Orchestra.
Gee.
Or London Concert Orchestra, one of those. And I was like, really? Okay. So I tried not to think too much about it, because I've had many of those things happen before, where someone sort of, oh, you're going to do this, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And the next thing I knew, I had Brian's people on the phone, and I had to do We Will Rock You with Brian sitting in the box. I could just see his silhouette.
That's scary.
Yeah, and I had to play all the stuff, and you're like, oh. But, I guess that's being confident enough with your instrument and yourself and rehearsing.
How could you not be? Because, I know that everybody gets nervous in those situations, but you had such a pedigree in your playing. You've taught, as you've mentioned, at ACM,
yes,
and teaching for years, gigging out and playing for years, and yet when that silhouette appears, it's still a bit,
that silhouette comes. Even if you're just going there, making sure that you can get those very basic.
Do you know, that sounds absolutely beautiful. What are you playing there? You're playing?
I am playing a Friedman, I think it's a vintage T classic, if I get it around the right way. And this is called a Road Dog. I think the idea of this guitar was that in the 50s and 60s, they had all those sort of salmon pinks and foam greens. And then in the 70s, everyone was like, and sanded them down.
Off. Yeah.
So this is the idea. But as you've seen, Mike, over the last few days,
you haven't let anyone else touch it?
I've kind of guarded this guitar like a hawk.
It.
Well, I've always been a Teddy player. And before I played Music Man Guitars, who I've been signed to for 22 years now.
Yeah.
And even with them, I played Telly single cut styles. So I've always gravitated to Tellys. I have a couple. I have a pre-CBS from 1960. And I have another 90s telly that I use a lot.
Oh man, I'm very much a telly fan. In fact, when I started to build Milton guitars, I went straight for the telly shape.
Right.
And I think Leo Fender got it right first time, really.
I agree. Obviously this is derived from that design.
Yeah.
There's you can't get away from it, but it is a slab of wood. I'm just seeing I'm getting it on camera.
Yeah, you are getting it nicely.
It's a slab of wood.
I love that sort of...
Yeah. The wear marks, I don't know how well. Yeah, you can kind of see it if I move it there. Yeah.
Friedman are really, really good at relicking. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of relicking, and that's why I'm playing this Stanford guitar. It's a good chunky neck.
Yeah, there's a bit of meat on the neck.
Yeah.
I get a bit... I get hand ache if the neck's too skinny.
Absolutely, and I've only got small hands, but I still need that You know, and to get the thumb round to do the right, right technique.
My if you ever play the Red Special, the real Red Special, and some of the production models have a bit more of a classic neck with quite a flat fretboard.
Did you play the original Guild version of that on the show, or was it the Burns?
I played. There were Burns, but I played BMG versions.
So the real Brian May, because that was the last iteration, wasn't it? Because did it go Burns, then Guild, and then BMG?
Guild, then
Right,
BMG. But then the BMGs, they do one called the Super, which has Brian's neck on his guitar is massive. It is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
So the Super has that, and the Super has the trapeze style bridge and the hand wound pickups. My special that I was given by Brian, it has mine's got the hand wound pickups, but it hasn't got the trapeze bridge.
Yeah.
But when I was in the band with Brian and played with him with Queen. I only did one gig with Queen, I should point out. I did the Freddie Mercury 65th birthday party, what would have been Freddie's with Jeff Beck and a load of others. Yeah, it was very cool. But I used one of his Guyton guitars, and Andrew Guyton builds a lot of the guitars for Brian, and also he made the guitars that are in the movie, the different eras of Brian's. But Guild made two versions of it in the 80s, and the first version is what you see in the One Vision video.
Right.
But Brian's ones had bigger necks, and it had DiMarzio made signature Brian May pickups.
Wow.
And it had a Kahler, and I loved that guitar as a kid because it was kind of a bit of a rock version.
Yeah.
And it was all black and red, but everything was black. And when I was at Brian's house one day, there was one, I was like, is that the One Vision guitar? He's like, yeah. So I took it out and, you can borrow it if you like.
Oh.
So I had a massive neck and I fell in love with it. So I tried to get a Guild, but they only made like 300. And so I was a bit naughty, but sadly, you can make replicas of the Red Special. It's not patented, which was a bit silly.
No.
So I've got a replica of a Guild.
It's amazing the Chinese haven't ripped it off, actually.
I think they have.
But I've actually got a BMG, Brian May guitar version.
I play my Guilds, but I tend to use my Guild replica, but I tend to use the BMGs. But I know that the first ever official, non-official Red Special was I think it was a Japanese guitar. Actually, it was called a Greco, and in the good old-fashioned Loverboy video, Brian's actually playing one.
Wow,
yeah,
love it.
He's got Friars, he's got Guytons, he's got many different versions of it.
And again, what's your collection like?
My collection,
mainly tellies.
I've only got a couple of tellies, but there might be a third one.
I was going to say you've so fallen in love with this Friedman, and I tell you what, actually, it's really we've teased, we've talked. I know the guys out there are going to want to hear you play, so. Can we hear this Friedman? I'm not going to play this because after you've played, I shall be significantly scared to play in front of you. But
I always get a little bit camera shy. The thing I like about this, it does that telly. Turn it up.
Push it.
It's got that nice. There's a space around the notes, I think, but also on the neck pickup. It's got a fantastic sound. I think even with a pretty overdriven amp, it still has that air around the sound of the guitar. So.
They've always been known for being a really open, jangly type sound, isn't it? And it's got full range of resonance as well, which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
Tonally to play, and a lot of what you can't do on a review and tell on a review is the feedback, the feel that a guitar gives you.
I love the way that the body sort of it digs in me.
Yeah.
It just. I have a couple of tellies. I have a Jerry Donahue telly from the early '90s, which I had heavily modified back then because I was such a huge Richie Kotzen fan in the '80s.
Oh, Richie!
And Richie was playing these a custom shop telly when he was with Poison. So I had this guitar made to look like his. I had all the same pickups. He had quite a big neck, and I eventually became friends.
And on the guitar.
What's that?
And on the guitar.
And, yeah. And I became friends with Richie years later, and he came to my house and played on my first album. And I handed him this guitar. But at one point, he used to leave a guitar at my house of his. So I had one of his mint green signature tellies. And when he come over to play, I'd take it down, and there you go.
Wow.
So that was.
And how about
cool.
his latest stuff? Is it Winery Dogs?
Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
Yeah.
And he's sort of gone full circle from being a full-on shred. I mean, he still shreds, but his touch and feel and bluesy licks now are like, whoa, something else.
I have to say, be a bit controversial. I love his playing, and I always will. And I love his these roll. This kind of stuff where you kind of. So I'm in D minor, pentatonic, and you'll pick, say, the 10th fret of the A, hammer onto the 12th. You roll your third finger onto the 12th fret of the D, and then you'll pick the 12th fret of the A and pull off again to the 10th. And you just move that across the string.
That's a lovely lick,
and that's
it's
one of his licks. But I must admit, I liked it when he was more with the pick, using the pick, because he was very good at the sweep picking stuff. So I that's where I learnt that stuff, listening to him. But he'd do like so you'd have some kind of sweep picking, and then like a blues
and then
thing.
bluesy.
I found that really appealing.
That hybrid pick of tones and playing techniques is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that, mate, you've got it in absolute spades. It's a joy to hear somebody that's so in tune and in touch with their instrument, and it's just lovely to meet you.
Thank you, mate. It's
and
been
have
a
the
pleasure.
opportunity to chat.
Yeah,
so,
had a lot of fun, and we shall continue to have fun.
We will
over the next few days.
We're going to have a lot of fun here at 42 Gear Street, Les Deux. And we will be back with plenty more videos from Gear Street, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. As always, if you have enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up, a like, and it really can't hurt to subscribe. And what's more, please also check in the description down below, because I will be putting all the links I can find for Jamie, and go and have a listen to his stuff, and go and see his channel, subscribe to what he's doing, because he's a fantastic player, a super funny, nice guy who I've loved hanging out with. And thanks so much for watching, and as always, you take good care.